All right. Thank you, Fadi and Gal, for joining me here on Vonvo.com today as we talk about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. I really appreciate you guys coming and being willing to share your opinions. Just so the audience knows, I just want to make a quick announcement for the audience. The different numbers beneath both Fadi, myself, and Gal, that is a ranking system, so you can feel free to give anyone rank points throughout the conversation. You only get one per speaker. And then next, what I just wanted to do for Fadi and Gal, I just wanted to lay out some ground rules that I thought were important to just, go over with each of you. Is that okay? Just because I know this type of discussion can, get,
I don't, Max, I'm sorry, I don't hear you at all.
You don't hear me at all? How about now? Do you hear me now?
No, I mean, it's like few words that you're saying, but not everything.
Okay, I'm gonna...
Yeah, I do hear you now, but I mean...
I'm gonna try speaking slower, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So the ground rules, guys, that I just want to, lay out before we begin speaking and I ask any questions, are, let's make sure no one, provides any personal attacks towards anyone. No insults or, racist remarks. And, let's just make this be as civil of a conversation as possible, where we focus on the issues and answer the questions. And that's where I'll begin now. Fadi, just to get started, could you just give us a quick background for the viewers, of who you are, your religion, your ethnicity, and where you're located right now, so that the viewers know? And
sure. Thanks. Thanks, Max, for having me on this program. Before I begin, I just want to express my condolences to the families of the victims of the shooting at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut here in the United States. As a parent, I think it's devastating what happened. Broke my heart when I heard it, and I'm the nation here in the United States. Every parent went through hell yesterday just thinking about what happened.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I am an attorney, been so for 25 years in the Chicago area. I am a Palestinian activist here, and I blog at the sites that I just put on the bottom of this screen. I consider myself a moderate Palestinian that has been sorely disappointed with what's happening with the peace process.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. And I see the Christmas tree in the background. So are you a Christian or Catholic?
I'm a Catholic Christian, yes.
Okay, great. Gal, do you want to just tell the viewers, who you are and where you're from exactly, so they know?
Yeah, sure. My name is Gal. I'm from Israel. Right now I'm a student for economics and management.
Okay, great. Very good. Okay, guys. So let's go right.
That's it.
Great. So let's go right into the discussion, and we will, really try and paint a broad picture of, this conflict for everyone watching, and try and, drive some solutions-oriented dialogue over the course of the next, 30 to 45 minutes. The first question that I wanted to bring up, just to kind of get things started, smoothly. Fadi, were you in favor of the ceasefire when it was brokered a few weeks back? And have you been satisfied with it so far?
Of course, I would welcome any ceasefire
hear the question at all?
along the Gaza-Israeli line. I have to pause every time I speak because there's a sharp echo coming back in my ear.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, of course, I welcome the ceasefire. I am satisfied with it. And I would hope that these would lift the embargo, the siege upon Gaza, because the effects of that siege is devastating on the Palestinians in that area. There's a shortages of food, medicine, and drug water supplies in that area, and it's not.
Is Fadi, do you think the Palestinians are living in a free society right now in both West Bank and Gaza? And if not, and could you answer that question?
Free society? No, of course not. They're not in a free society. They're under occupation by the Israelis.
Do you think
there's military checkpoints that dot the West Bank, that the Palestinians have no freedom of movement? They have a surrounding wall that restricts them from each other. There are the wall runs through certain towns that dissect families, dissect the people from their farms.
Now,
no, there's no freedom at all, and in Gaza, there's no freedom at all.
Now, Fadi, Fadi.
They have
go ahead.
2 entry points. I have to speak slowly because the echo is coming back in my ear.
No problem. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's no freedom at all.
Okay. And do you think that there's any blame to be assigned to the Palestinian government for some of their non-freedom? Or do you think it is all Israel's fault?
The lack of freedom is the occupation. It's an Israeli occupation. We have free and unfettered elections in the West Bank and Gaza. So I don't see that there's any fault on the Palestinians as to our freedom. There's no restrictions as to the movement of Palestinians. There's no Palestinian law that prohibits us from moving about, from speaking. It is all on the Israeli side. Our freedom is totally subjugated to the occupation.
All right, great. So the next question that I was going to bring up is, why don't you think the Israeli government is allowing Palestinians to travel freely outside of the borders into Israel? What's the major reason behind that?
Well, you have to understand that the purpose of the occupation, it is to make the people leave the land. It's a form of intimidation. It's a form of instilling fear into the people. The checkpoints, sorry.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Are there to hinder the people movement and to cause them to leave the land. But that's not happening, and that will not happen.
Got it.
Because the Palestinians know that this land is ours, and we will stay there, and there will be steadfastness on the land.
Okay, great. So the next question I was going to bring up, and maybe what I was going to say is there are some people commenting in the text box, in the text chat. So if you want to respond to any of those comments, that would be fine. If you see any of them. But it might be a little too...
I see one that says Israel's not occupying the Palestinians or Gaza. I think that Israel would love to annex the West Bank, but they have no legal standing there. They are confiscating bits and pieces here and there in Area C, and would love to annex the whole West Bank into Israel, but they can't. They are creating facts on the ground in order to preempt any solution. In fact, Israel would love to see a three-state solution, one with Israel in Area C and some parts of Area B. They'll give the Palestinians Area A and limited areas in Area B as another state, and then they want Gaza to be a separate state.
So, Fadi, can I ask a follow-up?
To the Israelis.
Could I ask you a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Do you think it's
Sure.
do you think it's crazy or ridiculous? What's your personal feelings, at the concept of dividing such a small piece of land amongst a few different people? What's your personal feelings towards that?
Well, here in 1948, Palestine was divided. All we are asking from that 1948 land is 22%. That's what the West Bank and Gaza is, 22%. And Israel still does not want to make a settlement based on 1967 borders, which is 22% of the land.
Mm-hmm.
It is inconceivable, first of all, that I think that Israel will give up any land in Area C. Israel has I don't believe that Israel has any will to make any peace. Its makeup in the Knesset, in its parliament, is such that not been any majority ruling party since 1955. In Israel, the way a prime minister gets elected is You know what? I'm going to move this earpiece and then speak and then come back and when I stop. Is that okay? Because I'm getting too much echo.
Okay, you're going to leave the room and come back, you said?
No, I'm going to move the earpiece, and then when I'm ready to stop talking, I will put it back in. If you want to say something, just raise your hand.
Okay. Okay.
All right. The way the Israeli Knesset is made up is that any party that has the highest number of seats, and it's usually not a majority because there's only been one majority in the Israeli Knesset since 1955. So if a party like the Likud has 30 seats, it needs to make up another 31 seats, 61 out of 120 in order to run the government in Israel. Therefore, it has to get other parties other parties that have won election seats in the parliament in order to combine them and then make a ruling coalition. This sort of system allows the minority parties to control the whole government. Right now, Netanyahu has within his government a party called the Shas, S-H-A-A-S, party, whose spiritual leader has called for the annihilation. They don't want to make peace with the Palestinians. Or if Netanyahu wants to make peace, this small party that I believe only has about 10 seats can block any attempts to make peace. Therefore, in Israel, there is no will. There might be a majority of people that want peace, but because of this, the way the Israeli system is set up, these minority parties control the whole ballgame. And that is a major factor in Israel in not wanting peace. They are not going to give up the West Bank. There is no two-state solution. They've killed that concept, and the only concept is a one-state solution.
Got it. So I guess what I would ask then, now I'm going to raise my hand. I guess what I was going to ask then is, you're talking about, there being a minority party, composed of, radicals that you're saying don't want peace. Do you think those same minority radical parties that don't want peace exists on the Palestinian side as well?
Okay. Well, the Israelis do not want the Palestinians to unify, to reconcile. Many people know right now Hamas and Fatah are not on terms. And Israel is doing all it can to prevent any unification of these two parties. In fact, Israel has withheld funds from the Palestinians, funds that are collected in the form of taxes by the Israelis and to be turned over to the Palestinians. As a matter of fact, they've withheld some funds now because UN vote that was taken recently to make Palestine a state within the UN. Now, Hamas, a democratically elected party within community. In 2006, there were elections. Unfortunately, Israel and the United States did not want these elections. We have two countries that say that they're democratic, but they will not accept democratically elected results in the Palestinian territories. Hamas, to answer your question, did say through its leader, Mashal, that they are willing to accept a 1967 borders Jerusalem as the capital. That is what is the Hamas wants. Fatah wants that. The only problem is Israelism. There is no will, as I said previously, in Israel to accept a two-state solution.
Great. It looks like we have a participant. What's going on, Jonathan?
We have a visitor.
How are you, Jonathan?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Do you hear us okay? And I want to just check our connection before, we begin.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Fadi, do you hear him well?
Yeah, I do hear him.
Okay, awesome. Can you guys just wait 1 second? I want to grab my computer charger because I went downstairs, and I will be back in 1 second. You can introduce each other if you want, okay?
Jonathan, where are you from?
I'm from Queens, New York, and now I live in Israel. And you?
I see. Are you a citizen of Israel?
Yes.
Were you born in Queens, or were you born in? Okay.
I mean, I'm an American. I'm born and raised in America, and I'm made Aliyah to Israel. I also live in New York.
Okay. No, I'm in Chicago area.
So
in
that's basically
Jerusalem.
what I wanted to.
Okay, guys, I'm back. So, Jonathan, I just heard you're from Queens, New York. Very cool. I was going to ask you, I'm assuming you came in to the conversation to respond to something from Fadi. Would you like to take the mic and go ahead and respond?
Yeah. It's essentially the main thing that I want to get across. Oh, there's a big echo. When you look at Israel, or at least I think anybody that goes or has done birthright or visited it, they see firsthand what it's really. It's so when they hear the word apartheid, I think they get confused because that's completely bogus. It's a democratic country, peaceful, regardless of what it says. People are, at phase. They go out to the clubs at night. There's even a gay parade in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. So Israel does preach freedom. Now, the big issue is that we're all dealing with is a Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I don't really see it as the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I see it as a conflict of Hamas, a terrorist organization that is given all of a sudden this kind of, how do you say, they're being acknowledged as if they're a civil organization or a body, which is bogus. It's as if we're taking Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, Hezbollah, and treating them that they're some kind of civilized organization that can make choices and run a party. They can make choices, but we're talking about a terrorist organization making choices. So when you're looking at Gaza, I think that Israel left it 7 years ago, I mean. And the second we left, Hamas seized that opportunity and just took over, and the Palestinian people can't do anything about it. I know many Palestinians that like that. They want to live in peace. I really do have a few good friends that get disturbed about this because they know that Palestinians are in a situation that they can't control. So Hamas feeds them information every day. They're preaching the radical views, and the Palestinians are left vulnerable for that. And if anybody goes against Hamas is perfect that they need to take out a terrorist organization living right by them because they're shooting rockets in their land every single day. Zerot, Beersheba. I have a close friend whose apartment was blown up by a rocket.
Jonathan,
the Iron Dome did not destroy.
Jonathan, can we let Fadi respond to some of that? Because I definitely think he sees where you're coming from.
You want me to respond?
Yeah, please.
Well, there's lots of things that Jonathan has said that I disagree with. He calls Israel a peaceful country, but I don't think he has seen what Israel has done to the Palestinians in the West Bank. I don't think he realizes what the Israelis do to the Gaza, seizing it by not allowing food, medicine, and water supplies to enter Gaza. To that effect. He may be sitting in a cafe in Tel Aviv or in the seaside along the Mediterranean and thinks it's peaceful, but that's not peace. That's not a peaceful country. He doesn't realize that in Israel there are Jewish-only roads. There are allows Israeli communities to vote on whether who can be the residents in those communities, which is purposely trying to exclude Palestinians from those communities. He doesn't know that there is an apartheid-like state in Israel that he just does not see. Israel is an apartheid state, and he just does not see it.
Jonathan,
with regards to Hamas, I think that if Israel says that it can defend itself, no nation will allow any other nation to bomb it and not be reprimanded, then my response is that no nation will allow another nation to seize it, to harm its citizens, to deprive its citizens of the freedom of movement, of food, of water.
Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
If Hamas wasn't around, or if any Arab nation didn't have guns, do you think Israel would attack, occupy anything at all?
Are you asking me a question? I'm not hearing this.
Yeah, he's going to ask you a question, Fadi. And Jonathan, I guess go ahead and re-ask it, and then I'll go back into my questions.
My question is, if Hamas was around,
what was the question?
Israel would occupy Gaza?
There's a dog barking in the background. I can't hear anything.
That's my dog. 1 second. I'll be right. Go talk. Pardon. You gotta get
If Hamas didn't have any weapons, or if they weren't even in the region, do you think Israel would have any reason to occupy West Bank or Gaza?
Well, if Israel was not occupying the West Bank, it was not seizing Gaza, we wouldn't have any reason to bomb Israel with rockets. I can throw the question right back at you.
So that's what I misconstrued. If Hamas wasn't occupying, I think they're the occupiers.
So
Israel has a right to defend its citizens.
I'm not hearing the question very well.
Well,
not letting Hamas do what they do.
So, Jonathan, let me repeat something to Fadi, Fadi that I'm hearing that I think is interesting for you to respond to. Okay, Fadi?
Fine.
Okay. Jonathan's making a point that he believes it's a majority of, the unfair occupation is caused by Hamas. And so an interesting point that I'd like to find out from you is, I've heard about a lot of corruption amongst the Palestinian authorities, such as Hamas, and I've heard, Palestinians voice their concern that there's plenty of fault to be put on, the Palestinian authorities, such as Hamas and their corruption tactics. Do you see that as, being part of the problem here?
Not at all. Listen, I don't think Israel should meddle into the affairs of the Palestinians. There is much corruption within Israel. You had Olmert, the prime minister, resign. Lieberman, the foreign minister, resign. We don't meddle into your affairs. Don't meddle into ours. Yes, there might be some corruption within the government of Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, but that's for us to decide and to resolve it, and none of your business. We don't meddle into your affairs. Don't meddle into our affairs. And that does not cause any problems, any problems between the Palestinians and Israelis. Whatever is going on between us, nothing to do with you.
Okay, so Fadi, I get the impression that like your overall solution then, based on your opinion, is that it has to be separate territories and separate countries, right? There's no one united country that can occur between these people. Is that your kind of stance?
That's what is preferable, but I believe that Israel has preempted that solution with its settlement policy. There is no way that we can have a two-state solution. There is will in Israel for such a solution. Therefore, I believe that the only solution, a one-state solution.
That's very incorrect, because we've been waiting on Abbas to come to the table for a long time. Since Arafat, since Peres, Bill Clinton, Ehud Barak, how many times have we initiated peace talks, and how many times have the Palestinian people rejected it? It's completely false to say that Israel is not trying to attain peace.
Well, I mean, Jonathan, one question that I will throw out there to you, because I think it's very important, and Fadi mentioned it before. Do you think that ultimately Israel is trying to, let's say, put their money where their mouth is when it comes to fostering peace with the Palestinians, with different, apartheid-like tactics, such as, a huge 25-foot cement wall going across the entire border, as well as, segregating what roads, Palestinians are able to drive on and which roads, they're not allowed to drive on? Do you think that they are practicing, improper or, are pushing improper actions upon, the Palestinians to the point where, like, how could you even think that Israel is trying to preach peace? Do you see that at all? And do you want...
Are you asking me? Or...
I was asking Jonathan. Jonathan, did you hear that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so difficult to... It's being scrutinized to an extent that... How do you even put it into words? Here, I'll go with this. Jabari is the leader of Hamas. He's the one who confiscated Gilad Shalit for 5 years. IDF made a surgical target of him and eliminated him. The same way that George Bush eliminated Saddam Hussein. In the same way that Barack Obama Osama bin Laden. Through the airstrike that Israel committed to take out...
The same way the terrorists eliminated Rabin.
I'm getting the same way that Israel took out Jabari with its surgical airstrike. They also targeted over 1,500 rocket launching sites in Gaza. Through every one that they needed to destroy because of those rockets into Israel. It's placed next to a school, next to gas tanks, next to hospitals. It's a very condensed area, Gaza. We all know that. But at the same time, Hamas isn't trying to shoot in Israel. They shot one into your birthplace, Jerusalem. Aviv. For the first time in over 20 years, a siren went off in Tel Aviv, Israel. Now, the siren is scarier if anyone has experienced it more than the rocket itself. If the Iron Dome wasn't around, there would have been over 1,000 rockets landing in Israel within a week. So my question to you is, what does a country expect to do when over 1,400 rockets are launched within a 12-day period?
Well, so
into civilian territory.
John,
and then let me ask you a question. What is a country to do when it has over 45 years of occupation and a confiscation of its land, and when it is under siege in Gaza, and they are in an open-air prison? What are we supposed to do? Answer that question, then I'll answer yours.
Well, Mark Twain even said in the 1800s, he's visited Palestine. He saw that the land was very desolate, desert, no soil, it wasn't rich. And there were roughly 300 to 400 at the time in Palestine.
Leave us with our desolate land. Leave us with our desolate land.
So Israel didn't exist yet.
Well, ultimately, can I?
There was land and territory purchased, and after so much of the purchased land became, coming in the 1940s, that's when all the wars started. You can't say that Jews or anything because they never started any violence. There were too many Jews in the area. I think the Arabs realized that it's a problem because they just don't like it. And every time, there's a war every 10 years on average in the last 60 years, and Israel needs to defend it. I mean, if the Arabs had no guns, there would be no wars. If Israel had no guns, there would be no Israel.
Do you think that that's a true statement, Fadi? The last point.
We've seen it for 5,000 years.
If no guns, there'd be no Israel.
We're pretty hated people.
If Israel didn't have the support of the U.S. and the billions of dollars in aid that Israel gets from the U.S., there would be no Israel.
Right, but that and I mean, well, bring up the.
Matt, I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's fine.
It's pretty simple to state. In the last 65 years, the Jewish people finally had a land owned, and for the first time, we could defend it. I think the world is used to seeing the Jewish people as victims for the last 4,000 years.
The problem is, let me interject here. the problem is not whether Israel should have a land, it's how much land does Israel want?
Well, so Fadi, I mean,
small portion, the size of
the Palestinians have accepted borders, and Israel wants more than the 1967 borders. That's the problem.
So
we have accepted Israel's right to exist.
Go on, I'm sorry.
And now Israel wants us to accept it as a Jewish text. They will want us to accept that hummus is a Jewish dish.
Right.
The Palestinians are rooted. Even Arafat admitted it, that the Jordanians and the Syrians refugeed them. And in Lebanon, there's many Palestinian refugees that are being murdered because they don't. Of all the countries that accepted them, Israel accepted them. Others, from Jordan to Syria, nobody accepted Palestinians.
Well, so
I think it says a lot about how much work.
Max, this is all nonsense.
Yeah, no. So I wanna throw in more of an objective question here. I mean, ultimately, Jonathan, do you think that they are being very accepting, to the Palestinian people when, they're living in very desperate conditions, and ultimately it's their occupied lands. So I mean, there is a lot of evidence, such as people just not living, having high standards of living within that area, to say, are they actually treating them very well? And then if you want to respond to that, that'd be great. Fadi, I kind of want to ask you a follow-up question as well.
Jonathan, just let me interject here.
Go ahead.
Jonathan, Max, just ask Jonathan, does he accept the 1967 borders as a two-state solution?
Jonathan, do you?
Because I think that's the problem. Israelis do not accept it. They do not want peace.
No, we want peace. But the 67 borders leaves Israel.
Well, tell me, how do you define peace, Jonathan?
Peace by not attacking.
So, guys, I want
67 borders.
Tell me, what are the borders of Israel and Egypt?
Israel wants peace, and the goal is a two-state solution. But the 67 borders will mean the end of Israel. Jordan has no more hill to overcome. They can attack. The Galil is left wide open for Lebanon to. It's strategic. Yeah. This isn't.
Jonathan, can I ask you a question? Do you think it's acceptable for Israel to continue going against, European Union suggestions? Even President Obama has advised against doing it, continuing to build settlements on what's considered, through international law, Palestinian lands. Do you think that it's acceptable for them to continue doing that?
Any settlements that are built on territories that to help protect civilians right next to Israel.
Well,
it's not settlements being built.
So that's perfectly acceptable.
So Jonathan, the issue is that the Israeli government is building these lands, building these settlements on Palestinian lands, but yet no Palestinians are able to live inside of these settlements. So don't you think there's a disconnect there? Like, don't you think that there's something, wrongfully going on in that with that matter?
Use
It's
the
not
word
settlements being built to take away
apartheid.
from Palestinian land. Where those settlements are being built, there's underground tunnels where weapons are being smuggled into Gaza.
I mean, that may be true that there could be weapons. Okay, let's move on then to another. Just because Fadi, I know you've been participating in this conversation for a little while now. Do you want to continue, or do you want us to move forward and kind of conclude our conversation? Because I don't know what you have going on later today, and we obviously had this scheduled conversation.
I'm fine. I can continue talking.
Okay. Great. So here's what I'm struggling to see is Fadi. You bring up that there are radicals within side of Israel that are not allowing, for peace to ultimately be fostered. And Jonathan, you're bringing up that there's radicals within side of, Gaza and within side of West Bank that are not allowing for peace to be fostered. I personally have spoken to multiple Palestinians, regular citizens, and multiple regular Israeli citizens that say they want peace. And so ultimately my question is, and Fadi, maybe you can answer it first, is it right now just a conflict, a war going on, or a crisis going on between two radical groups of individuals on each side that are preventing any peace from occurring? Is that an accurate statement?
Well, it's my opinion that the minorities on both sides are hindering peace. And I believe that the majority on both sides need to come together to isolate minorities and to create peace. I think there's a general will on both sides to create peace, but they can't come together. But you've heard Jonathan. He believes that the settlements are built to enhance Israel, and there's no way that they're going to give it up. That's why I say that the settlements that Israel is building is a hindrance to peace. It's a two-state solution, and the only solution will be a one-state solution. Look, the Palestinians are going to outwit the Israelis in the area between Israel, West Bank, and Gaza. We will be a majority in the land, and Israel cannot keep a minority. If will not convince there's a one-state solution is the only solution, then the demographics will convince them that the only solution is a one-state solution. They have to come to realize that aspect of it. They want to continue to fight. Let them fight. We're ready.
Jonathan, do you think it's just too radical?
I agree with you.
Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan. Sorry.
So, look, me personally, I don't hate anybody. I hate the situation that's going on. What I'm happy about is that if the Israeli government, or if any other government does something that the people don't like, it's good that we have the ability to question them. And it didn't. Many would talk politics and the issues going on. Today, you sit down at the dinner table and you start talking about the politics. They look at you as, why are you bringing it up? Let's have a good time. We're trying to enjoy ourselves. So, listen, there was a bus bombing 3 weeks ago in Tel Aviv. That hasn't happened in a long time. And there's Palestinian children that are suffering in Gaza and West Bank. and I just think it's terrible overall. I mean, everybody wants the peaceful situation to arise, but once the violence stops, whoever the aggressors are, that's the issue. The aggressors, and that's Hamas.
Okay, so okay, great. So I'll move into another interesting question to throw at both of you. Fadi, how do you think the media is contributing to a lot of the hatred going on between both sides, where there's actually no balanced news reporting that's actually going on within these territories to really raise the true facts that are going on? Do you think the media is contributing to the problem?
Almost definitely, Max. The media it gives a perception that is reality. The problem is many people, what they see on TV becomes a reality in them. They see that a Palestinian throws a rock, but they don't see that Israel has probably killed the Palestinian, set up a roadblock, as it has hampered the lifestyle of the Palestinians. They don't see any of that. And so the media, for a long time, has controlled what is perceived in conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis. But now with the internet, with the social medias, that cannot be hampered anymore. Word is getting out that the Palestinians are the David and the Israelis are the Goliaths.
I guess what I wanted to then bring up, an interesting point, and I like that comparison. It's an interesting one to make. Fadi, one thing I wanted to bring up is, obviously over the past 10 years, you used to hear a lot more of the suicide bus bombings. And I wanted to find out from you if you thought that that's an acceptable form of retaliation from the Palestinian people, from the Palestinian authorities. And I know it hasn't happened recently, but when that was occurring, did you think that that was an acceptable form of retaliation against innocent Israeli civilians?
No, I've accepted the attack on civilians as an acceptable form of resistance. I do believe in resisting the occupation. I do believe in throwing rocks at the Israeli soldiers and attacking the military that's inside of the West Bank. That, I believe, is a given right to the occupied to resist the occupation. That I will never give up. But I also believe that the Israeli-sponsored terrorism is also prevalent. I believe that just the mere presence of the Israeli soldier is a terrorist act. I believe the Israeli soldier is there to instill in the residents. If you want to define terrorism is the act of instilling fear in a population or a government or a country to get it to do what it otherwise would not normally do. The soldier is there to instill fear in the Palestinians so that they land. That form of terrorism. So I believe that the resistance of the Palestinians.
Okay. Conversation, guys, with two more individuals in about 10, 15 minutes. So I think if you guys want to continue the discussion, that's perfectly fine. But I'm going to leave each of you with one question, and then I'm going to have to run into my next conversation, which you guys can feel free to come and listen to if you'd like. It's going to be, same topic, just with two different individuals, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, great. So my last question I'll leave both of you with is, and Fadi, you can, or we'll let Jonathan speak. Jonathan, what would be your message to the world, knowing, whoever were to end up listening to this discussion, today, tomorrow, whenever, what would be your message to the world that you think they should know about this conflict?
That it needs to end.
You want me to go first?
That it needs to end?
I'll say it quick. Hamas needs to be taken out, and I think once that happens, the conflict is taken away.
Okay.
Because I think the Palestinians and the Israelis are both rational enough to realize that they can coincide together, but Hamas is the X factor holding everything back.
Okay, great. Fadi, what message would you like to share with anyone around the world who watches this video?
Well, that statement by Jonathan is a non-starter. That Hamas needs to be taken out. Israelis cannot dictate to us who represents the Palestinians. Just like I cannot say to Netanyahu to take out the Shah's parties from its government. The Shah's party openly states that they are for the annihilation of the Palestinian people. Therefore, I can compare the Netanyahu government to the Hitler regime, if that's the way you want it. But I don't do that. I can't dictate to the Israelis who to have in their parties representing their people, and they can't dictate to us who represents to us. I believe that the solution is that the Palestinians need to establish parity with Israelis, that the UN recognition of Palestine as a state establishes some sort of parity. I think that the Palestinians need to force Israel to go to the international court when need be. I believe that the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement needs to be strengthened because I don't believe that there's any will within Israel to a two-state solution. I think that it needs to be forced to a two-state solution. But that's the only way peace is going to come about. It's not going to come about because Israel wants peace. I think it's going to come out because Israel is going to be forced to have peace, whether it's through these actions I just spelled out or through the demographics, as the Palestinians will be have a majority within the countries.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Are you for Hamas or against Hamas?
I am for the Palestinian people. Are you for the Shah's party that wants to annihilate the Palestinians?
No, I'm for the Palestinians as well, and I'm glad that you are too. But my question is, are you for Hamas or against Hamas?
I think Hamas wants to establish peace. They have said that they will accept the 1967 borders, which implicitly recognizes the state of Israel. Do you recognize a Palestinian state with 1967 borders? Let me hear the answer.
I recognize a co-state between Israel and Palestinians, not the tangibles of the 67 borders. And Hamas clearly calls for the destruction of Israel and all Jews in the world. They want all the Jews to come to Israel so it'd be easier to kill us. Hamas does not want peace. Hamas wants what Hitler. And that's been said in their media many times.
Guys, I have to run. Guys, I have to run. You can continue the conversation. Fadi.
All right, thanks.
Fadi, thank you so much for your help, sir. I think this went.
I gotta run too.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll be in touch, Fadi. And Jonathan, feel free to message me on Facebook or like our Facebook page so that we can keep you updated with our company and we have more conversations happening throughout the weekend. Thank you so much for participating.
Yeah, Fadi, Max, thanks a lot. I think it was a good discussion.
You. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye, Jonathan. Bye-bye, Max.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
You just click exit Vonvo, guys.